This story is based on a true story. The state of Alabama, 1997. Chapter 1. The Abandoned Church. Gateway to the Unknown. Detective John Smith had seen it all. He had worked on countless murder cases. But something about the abandoned church on Oak Street made his skin crawl. The church was located in an ordinary neighborhood, but all the locals avoided it like the plague. According to the rumors, stopwatch equals no, people were disappearing there. And strange mystical things were happening. John knew he had to investigate. As he approached the church, he noticed the eerie silence. The building was old and run down, with broken windows and overgrown weeds. John pushed open the door and stepped inside. It was dark, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. He pulled out his flashlight and started to explore. Chapter 2. The Crimson Symbols. Unveiling the Mysteries. As John made his way through the church, his flashlight beamed illuminating the way. He noticed something strange on the walls. At first, he thought it might be graffiti, or some other form of vandalism. But as he approached it, he realized that they were symbols. Strange, otherworldly symbols, etched into the walls with what looked like dried blood. The symbols were a deep crimson, and the smell of the blood was pungent and metallic. John took out his phone and started taking pictures of the symbols. He had never seen anything like them before. They were intricate and seemed to glow in the dim light of his flashlight. As John continued to explore, he heard a noise. It sounded like footsteps coming from the basement. John hesitated for a moment, unsure if he should continue. But his curiosity got the better of him. He carefully made his way down the stairs, his gun drawn and ready for anything. Chapter 3. Vanishing Shadows. The Curse of the Church. As he reached the bottom of the stairs, he saw something that made his blood run cold. In the basement, John found a young girl tied up and gagged. She had been missing for weeks. John quickly untied her and called for backup. As he waited for the police to arrive, he noticed more strange symbols on the walls. He realized that this wasn't just a case of a missing girl. There was something much darker at play. Chapter 4. The Ritual. Unleashing the Darkness. John's investigation led him to a group of people who were using the abandoned church for their twisted rituals. The group was led by a man named Mark, who had convinced his followers that they could summon a demon that would grant them wealth and power. John quickly realized that this group was not just a simple cult. They were dangerous and willing to do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. The group's rituals were dark and disturbing. They would gather in the basement of the church and chant in a language that John couldn't understand. They would light candles and draw strange symbols on the floor with what looked like more blood. John could smell the blood even before he entered the room. As the group chanted, John saw something begin to take shape in the center of the room. At first, it was just a faint outline. But as the chanting grew louder, the outline became clearer. It was a monster, unlike anything John had ever seen before. It was covered in scales, with long, razor-sharp claws, and glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce his soul. The monster didn't seem to be fully formed yet. But John knew that it was only a matter of time before it would be unleashed upon the world. He had to act fast. Chapter 5. The Monster Within. Confronting Evil. The group of cultists was heavily armed, and John knew he was outnumbered. He called for backup and waited for them to arrive. When they did, a fierce gun battle broke out. But John managed to take down the cult leader, Mark, before he could complete the ritual. As Mark fell, the symbols on the walls began to glow even brighter, and the monster began to thrash around, as if it was trying to break free from the confines of the ritual. John knew that he had to act fast. He grabbed a nearby crowbar and smashed the symbols on the floor. As he did, the monster let out a blood-curdling scream and vanished into thin air. Chapter 6. The Final Stand. In the end, John was hailed as a hero. He had stopped the cult and saved the missing girl. But he couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. He had seen things during the shootout that didn't make sense. He went back to the church and found a hidden room that contained a strange artifact. Since that day, John has never been seen again, and his gun was found under the rubble of the church.